Hello. You're on mute. There you
Oh, I was saying at first a message always gets to me and I should be used to it by now. And then I said, oh, it's only us.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm good. How
That's
was
good.
ATL in the Ocha?
It was beautiful. It was we have a new priest of Ocean. It was beautiful.
Good.
Yeah. Yep. Everything worked out really well.
Okay, good. Was the weather nice down there?
Generally, it was a little muggy, but that's Georgia.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was actually fine. Generally, we, in terms of traveling there and back, it was pretty good weather for traveling. We didn't have any, big, storms or anything.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
It's very good, actually. Very happy. A lot of us came down to support the process. So I didn't know who I was going to be there, so that was nice seeing so many people. I have one of my godbrothers who I haven't seen him in a long time, actually. He was there. That was so nice to see him. Yeah. So it was good. It was a good time. We had a good time. People really came out and came through for our god sister. So that was really nice.
And she's in Atlanta?
She is. Well, technically, my god sister is not in Atlanta. She's in Detroit. The person who was initiated is in Atlanta, but is from Detroit. Okay. So she's been a part of the ELA for a good better part of 20 years, and she just completed her initiation. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was good. It was very good. Very good. Her family was there. It was good because she has a daughter, so her daughter was able to come visit, and her family was able to be there. It was good. It was really good.
Yeah. I don't know if the others saw what I saw, because on the calendar that you sent, it said the 27th.
It did?
Yeah, but then it said in tonight's meeting, we'll discuss.
It said the 27th of July?
No, of August.
Oh, oops, I must have sent the wrong calendar invite. My bad. That was on me. Yep, because tonight's don't say nothing about inlay. Ha ha. Well, that's all right. I'll correct it when I need to. Yeah. Well, I don't know who else is going to show up tonight because it's been pretty inconsistent, as is this time of year because we got so much going on. So I'm just going to get started and see whomever else can join us will come and join us.
I'm switching on my iPad if you get an invite. It's
Okay,
me again.
that's fine. Yep, that's fine. Yep, I see it.
Recording in progress.
All right, let me get the, let me share the screen for you guys. Yeah, I know some folks are doing different things, and so yeah, again, like I say, I wasn't sure who would show up tonight. So, and inlay is I wanted to talk about inlay tonight. It's not an Orisha that a lot of people either know about or talk about. Um, but you know, it's an Orisha that when it comes to certain issues or concerns that come up in a person's life can be one of those Orishas that you may have never heard about, but then something comes up in your life and you have this this Orisha that comes to the fore to support a person. And so that's why I say, you know, it's never a bad idea to learn about different Orisha that are what some may consider obscure or not popular or not even ones that one would receive at initiation, because an inlay is not an Orisha one would receive at initiation unless they themselves were initiates of inlay. And even with that, there's, because of the secrets that were lost to the worship of inlay, even with that, there's a certain process through which one would receive this Orisha, even as an initiate to inlay that involves other Orisha. And I'll talk about that a little later. So let's see. Oh, there we go. Sorry. So we know that part. So inlay. Inlay is also known as Erinlay. So if you see the word Erinlay or Inlay, that's referring to the same Orisha. And Inlay is a warrior Orisha. And so that's why it's interesting getting to know, because I have two god siblings who are children of Inlay. And so that's in part how I know about this Orisha through people who are initiates to this Orisha. We have two Inlays in our Ilay. And that's not often you see that. So Inlay is considered Orisha Ode or warrior Orisha. So when you hear the songs sung, like you both have been in drums, you hear the songs of Alekba, then you hear the songs of Ogun, then you hear the songs of Ochosi, and more often than not, if the Akpon knows the order of the Orisha, you'll hear songs to Inlay following songs to Ochosi. So Inlay is considered a river Orisha, but also a forest dwelling Orisha. So when we talk about Inlay, we have to talk about the connection that Inlay has to as Koriolodo, which is, we see the owner of the river, which is a praise name for Inlay. So Inlay is that Orisha that, I'll keep our faces up here, that Orisha that dwells in terms of its energy, dwells in river, as part of the river. And if someone's receiving Inlay, there are certain things you have to do in the river. To Robert, oh, what? Hey, my brother's here. There are certain aspects of Inlay worship that you have to work with the river in order to support this river, this worship of this Orisha. Hey, how you doing, bro?
Peace, I finally made it.
You made it.
I know.
All right, today we're talking about the Orisha inlay and inner alignment with that Orisha. So today we talk about inlay, and so we just talked about the fact that inlay is a warrior Orisha. And even though it's not an Orisha that one receives when one receives one's warriors, it is in that class of Orisha because of its role as a hunter as a water hunter. So I mentioned one of the praise names for Inlay is Koriolodo, which means we see the owner of the river. So Irene's domain is very well established as being in the river, but because of Inlay's or Irene's role as a hunter, we also, as with other Orisha hunter, Orisha Ode, we find Irenle being very closely aligned with the forest or forest areas. So that's very closely tied to working with that Orisha, acknowledging that Orisha. And I was gonna mention also that although Inlay's is a river Orisha, he is also well tied with that area of water that is brackish, or where you find both where the meeting of salt water and sweet water meet. So that is also a very closely aligned with Irenle, and there's a pataki I'll talk about that will explain part of why that is. So as I mentioned, one of Irenle's praise names is Koriolodo, which means we see the owner of the river. Also Irenle Ayaya, which is Irenle the ferocious one. And this refers to Irenle as a fighter, or as someone who fights, who was a great king. Irenle is associated with wealth. Irenle is associated with a status of wealth and a kingly status. And as such, Irenle is considered to be the founding Orisha of the town of Ilobu, which is in Oshun State, which is where where worship of Oshun is. So, like I've mentioned before when we talked about Oshun, that Oshun's hometown on earth is Oshogbo in Oshun State, Nigeria. So that is the place where Oshun helped to fend off invaders on behalf of the people of Oshogbo. And similarly in Ilobu, which is not actually technically that far from Oshun, from Oshogbo. Their Relay River resides in Ilobu, the same as the Oshun River resides in Oshogbo. So that's the place where Ilobu is the place where Erinle gave the secrets to the townspeople to fend off the Fulani who were attempting to invade that town. And they did successfully fend off the Fulani historically. And so they have made that a place of worship of Erinle that exists to this day. And so that's why and they named a river in honor of Erinle in Ilobu. So there's even though Erinle is a primordial deity, it's also a historical place in Nigeria where Erinle is worshipped. Erinle is considered the patron Orisha of doctors. Erinle, as an Orisha, is known to have powers of healing, knowledge of how to heal the body, knowledge of how to heal the mind, and works very closely with anyone who has that as their purpose. So any individual who happens to be a doctor, and it doesn't matter if that person is a doctor in the Western sense, if that person is a board certified physician, if that person is a naturopath, if that person is an herbalist, a doctor in any realm of acupuncturists, um, anyone who is in the healing arts, and works in some ways with the body and understanding, using knowledge of the body and of ancient arts or even more contemporary arts to heal the body. Those folks fall under divine protection of Irene Lay. So that's why I mentioned before that Irene Lay is one of those Orisha that, generally you're going along with your life and you don't have a connection with Irene Lay just generally. But when your health if there's a health concern, in certain Odu, Irene Lay comes to help a person. That means that Orisha needs to be spoken to, given offerings, given some place of honor in a person's home in some cases, depending on the nature of the concern. And so Irene Lay is one of those, is really the only Orisha that holds that status of being the patron of doctors or those who have healing, who have been taught about how to heal the body. So, and along with that, Irene Lay has a mastery knowledge of herbs, and this goes along with Irene Lay's association with the Orisha Osine. Osine, and depending on which stories you believe or which lineage you follow, Irene Lay is the original owner of knowledge and mastery of herbs, and gave that knowledge to Osine, who is known broadly as the Orisha of herbs. Osine is called whenever a priest works with herbs. You have to talk to and call on Osine and let Osine know what your plans are with those herbs, how you're working with them, what you hope to have happen and manifest with those herbs. So there are prayers that we say specifically to Osine to evolve the energy, the intention, and the application of whatever herbs we're working with. So there's a very close relationship between Irene Lay and Osine, even though we don't hear of Irene Lay when we speak of Osine in numerous rituals related to herbs that we do to prepare anything, whether it's alekes, which are the beads we wear, or it's Orisha, or baths for people, whatever. You don't hear mention of Inlay in relationship to that, but they are very closely related. So in order to really respect and understand the role that Osine has, you have to give some deference to what, in terms of what Inlay does and how Inlay supports Osine. So keep that in. So when you think about herbs and how we use them in this tradition, that's something to keep in mind in terms of the relationship between those two. So also, there are lots of other ways that we acknowledge Irene Lay. Irene Lay is known to be not the patron saint of diviners or divine knowledge. That's really Orunmila, but Arinle, because Arinle has such a mastery of herbs and a mastery of the body and how to heal the body, there is a direct connection to Inlay's capacity as a diviner and capacity as having supporting healthy intuition in someone. Or having, some people saying having telepathic abilities as an Orisha, or supporting others to have telepathic ability. So there's an interesting association with highly evolved intuition and healing and knowledge that are all kind of come together in when we talk about Arinle as an Orisha. So, Arinle has a very distinct place among Orisha because of how those different things come together. And because of Arinle's position as a riverine Orisha, he is a divine fisherman. So when one performs the dances for Arinle, which if you ever go to a Bembe, you know most people don't know the dance to Arinle, so they just do the two-step. But the actual dance to Arinle involves casting your pole, your fishing pole, in the water and gathering fish. So there's a I'm gonna see if I can get back a little bit so I can show you. So there's a so you cast with your hand when you're doing the two-step on certain parts of the song, and then you roll your hands as if you have a huge fish net in your hand, and you're gathering fish to eat, to use, all of that. So that's part of how we see manifest Arinle's role as a divine fisherman in the dance of Arinle. So as a divine fisherman, he is considered a hunter of the water, and hunts for treasures in water for us, as well as treasures in the forest for us as well. But really, treasures in water is really where you see Arinle manifest most clearly. Any questions so far about Arinle, what I've gone over?
Yeah, why do he have that mirror in his hand?
Oh, this is just somewhat, well, this I think points to the idea of, you see the scales at the bottom, in kind of acknowledging, and the spear in his hand as a hunter. The mirror really, I think, symbolizes his ability to see, the telepathic abilities I mentioned, his ability to see, and to use his abilities to see as a healer. So I think that the person who drew upon this idea of him as having this divine knowledge, and having that be manifest in through the mirror of his ability to see. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that red thing that's above his genitals, is that a juju bag?
I think it's just an artist's rendering of a jewel representing wealth. And given his exploits as an Orisha, working in inspiring children, that may also be part of his icon. You don't see that in every icon of Arinle. That was this person's idea of kind of showing his prowess and his wealth. So that's my interpretation. I'm sure there will be plenty others, but given his association with wealth, I'm assuming that it's wealth and also ability to be progenitive as an Orisha. as I mentioned, he is considered one that can go hunt for wealth for a person. He is one that's considered to hunt for health for someone, and hunt for divine knowledge that can support someone's health. And as the fisherman, he is also very much uh, related to and connected to this idea of sustenance. So, because we know that, in our communities, in terms of ancient times, fishermen were the ones who oftentimes, in oceanside or riverside communities, were the ones that provided the sustenance for the folks of that village. So Inle is, as a divine fisherman, able to be an Orisha that provides great sustenance for those of us who need it. So it said that Irinle's children never go hungry because they have the divine fishermen who can always hunt for what they need in life. Does that, I hope that answers your question in terms of what you
It
asked,
did,
Jill.
thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So Irinle has very close relationship to different Orisha, but what one hears mostly about in terms of Irinle is his relationship to Yemaya and his relationship to Oshun. So with Yemanja or Yemaya, there's different stories about whether Yemaya, how the relationship between Yemaya, Abatan, and Irinle. Some say Abatan is Irinle's mother. Some say Abatan is Irinle's wife. Some say Abatan is Irinle's child. So Abatan are the land marshes. So marshland and lagoons are areas that are associated with Abatan. So in my lineage, we are taught that Yemanja and Inle were great lovers. And there's going to be a couple of pataki I'm going to mention later about this, but their union as lovers produced Abatan, which we know to be the marshland, which is interesting if you think of what marshland is, right? And given what where Inle's domains are and where Yemaya's domains are, they produce the lagoons or the marshlands. And Abatan is a female Orisha, and Abatan is an Orisha that we may have to go to if we have some needs that are related to hunting for things that are hard to find. And she's also Orisha that helps to bring justice in her own way. So those are two areas where we work with Abatan. Another Orisha that very rarely comes up for people, very, very rarely, because very few people know about how to work with that Orisha, but given her relationship with Inle and Yemaya, that may sometimes come up for someone. So Oshun and Inle, both of them are connected to the river. And they are, in my lineage, I'm taught that Oshun and Inle are the parents of Logun Ede. And Logun Ede is an Orisha that dwells half of the year as a man on land, where he hunts with his father, Inle, and half of the year, as Inle is associated with the forest and herbs, Lagune Day is associated also with that for half of the time. And the other half of the time, Lagune Day lives in the river with Oshun and is considered to be as beautiful and beguiling as Oshun. So Lagune Day is considered hermaphrodite or an Orisha that can be male and be female all at once. Laguna Day, in terms of our lineage, one of my elders restored the worship of Laguna Day in Cuba, but Laguna Day is a very popular Orisha in Brazil, and also still has some worship in Nigeria, but it's really, I think of all of the places one can find worship of a Laguna Day, you find it mostly in Brazil. They have a very, very active worship of this Orisha in Brazil. So there are some controversies around Laguna Day. Maybe one day, if I cover Laguna Day, we'll talk about them. But Laguna Day is a somewhat of a controversial Orisha in some regards, but is very much connected to Inle and to Oshun. Any questions about this, about what I've mentioned so far about Inle?
Yes, I got a question.
Sure.
So every time we talk about one of these Orishas, it seems like they get it cracking with each other and have these kids. And I'm trying to understand like the relationships between the different Orishas when they are commingling and having children. How does Shango feel about that? I mean, so is that a thing?
So there are a couple of things to keep in mind, and I'm going to mention Oshun in one piece of this. And so there's some analogy to knowledge of how the nature works in relationship to these connections that we should always keep in mind. That's one piece, but then there's also the piece of the functions that the Orisha play. So I'm going to talk about Oshun and Oshun's exploits. Oshun is considered to be the Venus of the Orisha, right? She's the one who has been. I mean, I don't think there's been a story where I have not mentioned her being with any male Orisha. She's been with pretty much all of them we've mentioned, right? You know, I had the stories about Aganju we talked about, the stories with Shango I talked about. Her and Elegba have always had a relationship. Ogun, she was with Ogun. She was with Ochosi. Has a very strong relationship with Ochosi. So Oshun had Obatala. She and Obatala have had a relationship. She and Orumila have had a relationship. So we think about Oshun and these exploits that she's had with all of these different Orisha. One could look at it as her being loosey-goosey and just being that girl, right? You can do that. And you can stop there. And then that's all you get to know about Oshun, right? But you can also flip that or take that a step further and recognize that Oshun is of the Orishas. Oshun is, and I think I'm pretty sure I covered this when we talked about Oshun. Oshun is the keeper of secrets. Oshun, that is one of Oshun and Oshun's children's roles. She is the owner of Oma. She is the owner of intelligence, and she is the keeper of secrets. So if you think about that within the context of her exploits, you think about her a little differently, right? You think about her as having capacity to know and have knowledge of the secrets of all of the Orisha that she has connections with, and how that supports her role in divination as being the owner of Dilogun, as the only Orisha that could divine with the king, the only Orisha that could make Odu stay with Orumila when Odu wanted to leave, and if Odu had left, we wouldn't have Odu. We wouldn't have the secrets of Orumila. Wouldn't have his secrets. So Orumila is indebted to Oshun. So these ideas of how these Orisha get together and what the function that they serve when they are in their commingling is beyond just the physical act as we think of it, but serves a greater purpose. So in Oshun's case, as the keeper of secrets, Oshun has a special relationship with how she supports everyone, every Orisha, because every Orisha has someone who knows their secrets, and that is Oshun. So with Inle and with Inle and Yemaya, they're producing Abatan means that we have an entity in nature that we can go to for very specific purposes. Same with Aganju, and I talked about Aganju, and he was actually a historical figure, so that's in some ways a bit different. But when we think about also Shango and Oshun and the two of them, and we have Ibeji from their union, and how Ibeji are also a part of Shango's edict as a ruler to protect all children, even those children that are considered anomalies or considered like Ibejis were actually. I think I mentioned it. I'm pretty sure I mentioned when we talked about Ibeji. Ibeji were considered to be a product of sorcery, and so they were initially hunted. But Shango put a stop to that, and it was because of his union with Oshun and producing twins that he also himself felt indebted to protect those children, and by extension, children are sacred to Shango. And sacred to our tradition because of what he did as king to ensure that children were protected. So these unions have meaning beyond just the cohabitation of it. And because we're talking about energies and how these energies work together, all of those energies have their own place, but they also acknowledge each other's place, right? So I don't see, like Oshun, there's no one competing. No one's going to compete for, well, I shouldn't say that. We do know that in history that there have been, in terms of the Patakis rather, that there have been very legendary battles between Orisha over Oshun. We know that, right? Shango and Ogun, that's one very, and I think I talked about that in one of my previous classes too, about when I talked about Shango and how, and his connection with Ogun and how all of that played out. So yes, there are tensions, but those tensions are worked out through the lessons that they teach us about each of their power and each of their energies and presence in our lives, and how they have certain qualities that support us. So we learn through Pataki, and we learn through these exploits how they manifest in terms of their energies, presence, and power, and how they support us in life. So, because we know that Shango and Ogun also made a pact that came out of that rivalry, that ancient rivalry over Oshun, that lives to this day in certain Odu. So, so Shango and Ogun, although they had what we call the never-ending war between them over Oshun, they also have a pact that's never ending with each other. That was born out of that because of the way they were able to make peace out of that never ending war. So all of these things kind of feed into each other. So it's also thinking about their element in nature when we think about the cohabitation, and their element in terms of their qualities in our lives as part of that too. So those are things we should keep in mind when we think about how the Orisha manifest in terms of these commingling And that's my take on it. What do you think, Joey? Did I answer your question?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Yeah, that does answer my question.
Yeah, that's a good question though. Because they're I thought I saw somebody else come on just now. Okay, yes. So yes, it's an interesting question to think about because we think about ourselves as human beings, right? And how those questions of those types of things happen for us, and how is it the same for Orisha? Is there beef, or is there something else between Orisha as a result of that? And yes and no. So that's where that stands. I wanted to say hello and welcome Satana to our class tonight.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I am well.
Good, good, good. Tonight we're talking about the Orisha Inlay and about the way that Orisha manifests for us. And Joy, you just asked some questions about what she's noticed in some of the pictures that we have, as well as some of the discussion, some of what's there, and to ask more questions about.
Okay.
Yeah. So without recapping too tough, a lot of the information is in the PowerPoint, but I would just add that that inlay or Erinlay is an Orisha that we go to, who helps us to hunt for things we want in life, and particularly as it relates to our health. And because he is a patron Orisha for doctors and herbalists, and he is the divine fisherman. He also, because of how he hunts and what he hunts, he is able to provide us sustenance and hunt for wealth for us. So it's
Okay.
as I mentioned, it's that Erinlay, children of Erinlay never go hungry.
Okay.
Because Erinlay is an Orisha that always helps them to have what they need in life.
Okay.
Yeah. And just so you know, I mentioned that Erinlay is related to Abatan and Yemaya, because he and Yemaya were considered to be great lovers, and which also, as I mentioned before, that he is found within that brackish water where the river meets the sea. And this is where you find the connection between him and Yemaya.
Okay.
And the connection between where the waters don't mix, but they meet. And that's where Erinlay's energy is very highly concentrated because of his relationship with Yemaya, which produced Abatan, which is the marshland and the lagoons. And also his relationship with Oshun produced Logunede, which is an Orisha that is also considered a warrior Orisha that lives half as a male Orisha as a hunter, and half as a female Orisha in the water with Oshun. So we were talking a little bit about that.
All
So
right.
any questions before I go to the next slide?
No.
Okay. So here's where we talk about working with Erinlay. As I mentioned, Erinlay really shows up for us. She really shows up for us most specifically when we are dealing with problems with health. Erinlay, because if we have a problem with working with doctors, Orinle is the Orisha we would literally go to make an offering, to talk to Orinle, to make, especially if we're undergoing surgery, if we're undergoing um, surgeries of any kind. Ogun is also very much a part of that. But if we are undergoing anything that puts us under the direct care of a specialist who happens to be a doctor, or even if we want to undergo a serious change in either our health, if we're having some type of regimen we have to undergo that's going to change our health tremendously in some kind of way, we work with Inlay. If we are facing down some health concerns that we're not sure how it's going to work out in terms of what type of care we're going to need, what kind of support in care we're going to need, if we're, should we go to a Chinese doctor? Should we go to traditional Chinese doctor? Should we go to a board certified physician? Should we go through a naturopath? Should we go through a Reiki person? Inlay, because of Inlay's knowledge of how herbs work, which all medicine is derived from plants. We know this, right? So even every pill that we've ever, even those that have been chemically changed or altered or whatever, all of them have generally some connection to something that was living. So that's why working with Inlay to learn about what the opportunities are for us in terms of what direction we should go in with our health. Inlay is a consummate advisor on those types of questions. And I did not put more information on this slide, but I did mention before, when we have concerns in life where we feel like we're living a life where we're either feeling emotionally impoverished or dealing with feeling like we don't have the life that we need for ourselves or for our children, we can speak with Inlay and ask Inlay to hunt for us. We can ask Inlay to hunt for us, to find us the health that we're looking for, to help us to find the wealth that we're looking for, particularly if we're interested in, because Inlay deals with commercial affairs as well. In a way, I mentioned that in terms of Aganju, if y'all remember. We had a discussion about Aganju and talked about how he is oftentimes connected to commercial wealth and prosperity. Inlay has some of that alignment with us as well. So if we have, because he is the divine fisherman, and can help us to find sustenance in whatever we want to pursue, we can talk to Inlay, give Inlay our attention or offerings, whatever that is, and have Inlay help us when we're involving ourselves in commercial endeavors, particularly as it relates to anything related to commercial endeavors with water, or with something going overseas or going across the water. That's a very much something we can talk to Inlay about. Inlay isn't considered the patron Orisha for business people, but can definitely be a boon for people who are working in commercial enterprises. I mentioned earlier on in our discussion that I have two god siblings who are initiated children of Inlay. Inlay, both of them are in business for themselves, and both of them are very successful. And because Inlay has that quality to support us in being able to, which, as we talked about earlier, having knowledge, telepathic knowledge, and using that knowledge of foresight and insight to support whatever endeavors we like to engage in. Inlay helps us to do that successfully. I would say also with Inlay, Inlay helps us to really kind of have a certain type of grace. And I'm saying this because I noticed that in my God siblings, Inlay really does favor when we hunt for something that we do so intentionally. So if we know we're hunting for wealth, Inlay may be there. We should just say, make sure you look the part of what you want to hunt for. So Inlay will, because so I noticed that my god sisters, how do we, or is it just one? Oh, okay. I'll talk about that in a minute. I'll answer your question in a minute, Satana. So if we want to hunt for wealth in whatever way we want to define that, making sure that when we show up in the world, we show up really reflecting that thing that we really feel that we want in life and we really feel we want to hunt for. And this comes up in Odu oftentimes. We'll be told, make sure when you go out, you dress elegantly, you dress distinctively and elegantly. And that may be a way that we talk about the laws of attraction and how, and that's true in lots of cultures. And I'd say this tradition really emphasizes the laws of attraction a lot as a way to set one apart from other people in order to give energy to one to attract the thing that you want distinctive from other people around you. So, when we're told in Odu, you should dress nice, you should not go out looking with sweats on or with your hair out of place or whatever, wear a little perfume, so these are things that we talk about in terms of how the laws of attraction connect with inner alignment and how the Orisha, especially Rishas who help us to find wealth, to find sustenance, to find those types of things in life, how they help us to use those laws of attraction to support that energy being a part of our energy. And it doesn't mean that you have to go outside of your identity or how you see yourself in order to do this, because everybody has their own way of showing up in the world as looking distinctive, looking elegant, looking graceful. So finding what that is for you and using that so that when people see you, they notice something about you that gives them an opportunity to say, you look nice today. I like those shoes. Your hair looks really nice. That outfit you wear is really beautiful. Oh, your bracelets, they sound so nice. They have a nice arrangement. Just little things that you don't think about. But all of that is part of the energy of attraction when someone acknowledges you and acknowledges your distinctiveness. That is part of how, in some ways, the Orishas work for us and show us favor in ways that are small, but also can reverberate into other areas of our lives or in other ways manifest more broadly in other ways. So how have you all, let's talk a little bit about healing from disease and Elay. Where are you guys in your lives and thinking about that? Because I know this, thinking about that this year, these past 2 years, right? We've been really tasked with this question of healing from disease and how that shows up for each of us. So how are each of you dealing with that question in terms of inner alignment, in terms of disease and healing? Where are you finding areas and avenues for healing? Where are you finding struggles with how to find an alignment with healing, particularly working with doctors or even working through with this idea of life is life, in this pandemic life? How are you guys finding all of those questions?
Um, for me, Satana,
Mm-hmm.
I injured my leg last year, and I haven't really recovered from it. With the swelling and inflammation in my knees, and being in the COVID state, the locked in as a teacher, not being in the classroom, walking, I've gained weight and my legs are really sore. And for a moment, I was taking ibuprofen, and I've just decided that, ibuprofen, I'm not one that likes to take medication. I do not like putting anything in my body that's not already here, that I wasn't born with, is what I say. And so, or natural. Yeah. What I've done just started this week. Well, actually, not started this week, but I've been taking vitamin D in the liquid format. The vitamin E pills I've been rubbing, I purchased and rub on my knees, and I take it internally as well. And I slacked off the last 2 months with turmeric, but I went and I have the turmeric again, so that turmeric extract and root, I got it where I'd have a higher dose of it. And I went and purchased ginger and garlic, vitamin C, and fish oil, so that I can, in addition to my vitamins, my regular vitamins, just getting more of these herbs, because I know my nutrition right now is not on point. So I know I'm not getting it from nutrition. So
Mm-hmm.
I just decided that I'm gonna do the herbs, the garlic and the herbs, to try and get my life together, and hopefully the ginger and turmeric will start working soon to get this inflammation off my knees so that I can be more mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
I made myself, I started walking and able to do like a mile, mile and a half without just feeling like I'm ready to collapse and please just leave me alone. So I'm trying to just do that and get back into exercising, but I need my legs to be okay in order for me to exercise.
Right.
So that's where I am.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, for me, it's been energy. All of it is energy. And, of course, that I did the Reiki Master with Sister Shaman and did the second part so I can perform it. So, like, I think that that's just been when people talk to me about what's been going on, I just talk about energy. And recently, um, one of one of my god sisters, Mache had she had COVID, and before that, she messed up her ankle, just really kind of going through. And I think that's just been the biggest thing is just really learning and plugging into energy, so between me sending remote Reiki and Sister Shaman sending it. And then she called me not too long ago saying that she used one of my baths. So she said that that really helped. So I think that is my answer is just kind of keeping yourself spiritually sound. I mean, you talked about like I like to in the shower. That's my time to kind of cleanse myself of energy that don't belong to me, that may attach itself to me. And that's just kind of where I meditate to kind of get myself back focused. But I also think that that is also a place where I kind of get my answers to a lot of things. So when people ask me, I talk about energy.
Hmm.
I would definitely agree with that. I think for me, as we talk about healing, we talk about dis-ease. The first thing I think about is balance and trying to go seeking inward that balance to kind of be proactive in the healing process. So that's one thing that I've been doing, as well as we talk about Anile, we talk about seeking And if you know better, you do better. So seeking the knowledge that you know you have. So grabbing those books that I have in my, I'm sorry, I'm walking and it's like loud. Grabbing those books in my library, seeking other information on the herbs and healing, stocking up on my herbs, that I know I'm supposed to have, certain herbs in my pantry, in my cabinet for, various reasons. So just acting upon the information that I already am supposed to have. So I think that's kind of how I've been manifesting with healing.
Mhm.
And also sticking with practicing with Joshua and making sure that I'm kicking that up to the 2nd and 3rd degree, which I'm actually pretty proud of myself on. So
Yeah, me too.
I
I'm
was,
proud of you too.
I was able to be a substitute teacher. Look.
Yeah, what's up?
I
I'm
had no
loving
students,
it.
but it's all good.
Student becomes a teacher. That's what I'm talking about. That's a good thing. But yeah, I think all of what you all mentioned is really important. How we understand the mind, body, and spirit connection, and how those things work together, and how if the spirit is not well, the body cannot be well, right? And if the body's not well, the spirit cannot be well. And that affects our ability to, fend off disease, fend off illness or dis-ease, as you say, right? All of that's connected. I really appreciate that.
And I'll just say one other thing, which is kind of funny as I'm walking. I actually hurt my knee like last week. And so I've also been like really into doing my workouts in the morning, push-ups and running. I got to a point where I was like running my 4 miles and then I run the 2 miles and I'll do my training by the lake and then I'll come back. And so I was feeling really good a couple Fridays ago, 2 Fridays ago. And so my daughter, I did all that in the morning. Then my daughter said, "Hey, you want to ride bikes?" And I'm like, I really don't want to ride bikes, but hey, why not? So I got on there, rode my bike, pushed my limits a little bit and was going a little too fast around the curve and almost scraped off my whole kneecap for the most part. But, and it was, exactly as I'm walking, it's kind of painful, but as I did that, because of where I am in my understanding of healing, I didn't think about being hurt. I actually was thankful for the fact that I was able to live a lifestyle of fitness.
Mhm.
So as I was looking at the blood coming out of my knee, I'm like, man, I'm so thankful I could actually run and then be able to be hurt. So that was like it was like a paradigm shift in terms of how I even looked at being injured. So I thought that was kind of unique.
Yeah. Healing from disease also means healing the mind, right? Because disease is a mindset. Yeah. I want to give Katie and Tranika, if y'all want to lend any insights to our conversation.
So I've been working from home for a year and a half now, and I already worked like an office job, but at least in the office, I was able to like go upstairs, instead of taking the elevator, take stairs and stuff like that. So it was a really hard adjustment for me. And just really this week, I was really on a kick to like, Katie, put yourself first, make yourself a priority. And so one day after work, I just went up to the lake. I didn't think I could do it because I was too in my head, like, oh, I got to be in traffic. I was just thinking too much, but I got there and it was great. and it did something for my spirit and for my mind. I was able to really wind down with myself. And then even that next day, I think also living, is it okay if I bring you up? Okay. Even living with someone who has disease too, like sometimes that kind of I get impacted by it too. And so with my partner having sickle cell, and when he's in crisis and stuff, I sometimes attune to that type of energy that it gives off. And that's why I kind of came in here, so he can hear this. Now that we're speaking about inlay, but there was a moment where it's just like, Katie, don't be the caretaker, you know, he'll be okay. Check in with yourself first. And even in that 5 minutes that I did that, it like brought so much ease to myself, and really just slowing down, and resting a lot more, like not being guilty about it. Like if I didn't clean up over the weekend, that it's okay, because you're cleaning up yourself. And then just making a plan to like get back to it at another time. So between balancing all of those different things, I want to get more physical. So I'm gonna work up to that, but also forgiving myself if I don't make it in that moment.
Important. I'm there with you. I'm there with you. As my brother Robert would know, I've been missing a lot of class. Because I normally would be in class on Tuesdays. I'm gonna try and do Thursdays, actually, if I can, on Thursday morning if I can. But yeah, but because I have a conflict on Tuesday evenings, I really have had difficulty making class. So yeah, so I am not beating myself up for not being able to be there, you know, like, because I love the class. It's a beautiful class. Very beautiful class. And Tranika, you have anything to share?
I think I feel like I agree with a little bit of what everybody was saying about I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Joey, am I saying that right?
Joey?
When she was talking about energy. Joey, okay, I'm sorry about that. And with the position that I'm in right now, I have to come to my grandparents every day, to help my grandmother with medicine, sometimes have to cook. And I think moving back home is me because I now have to be in a position of, yes, I care for some people, but I also have to allow people to care for me. And my sister-in-law was just like, I deserve that. So I don't need to feel bad about being taken care of because I'm always taking care of other people. But this week, as far as breakfast is concerned, and my sister actually brought it up, is I started eating fruit in the morning, and making sure I drink enough water in the morning. And the swelling, because I've been dealing with like swelling in my feet, my ankles, pain in my back and stuff like that, from moving around. And I'm sleeping in a bed that's made for children. So my back is always hurting, but doing those things and getting back to meditating, finally setting up my altar, and my ankles have gone down. And I was sitting talking to my sister and she was like, oh, your ankles look back how they used to look. And it's like, I know those things I'm all about trying to find, like, I guess, natural ways to fix issues before it's like I go to a doctor, because it's like I know what I should be eating and what I shouldn't be eating and what can cause other types of problems. So I already knew that a lot of what I was having had to do with the fact that not a lot of movement. So movement is healthy for me, and I think it's important to people in general, just like having movement, whether it's going for walks, or like going to the gym, however you dance, whatever. But movement is important for me in order for me to feel better. who I surround myself with and who I talk to who I talk to helps. And then the food intake. Food is a major part of my energy. Like there was a time where I went to plant-based diet because some of the women were having the same issues in my family. And sometimes it would end up being like surgery where they would have to have something taken out. And I didn't want that for me. So when I changed my diet and I added movement, and I added certain, I guess, herbs and stuff like that into my diet, then I felt better. Mentally, physically, it was like I felt unstoppable, basically. And I've lagged off in like the last couple years, so it's been hard trying to get back on track to doing those things. But all those things and what you do on a daily basis tend to have an effect on you. And then, but going to the doctor is also something that you should do in conjunction with everything else. I'm hard-headed on that end, but definitely like, the energy, how you think about yourself, all those things play into that. So right now it's just fighting to do those things and not feeling bad about resting. Like I don't know how to rest. So when I do rest, it's like I should be doing something and then I stress myself out. And I get headaches. I start feeling really bad and I get all depressed because I'm like, I should be moving. I should be doing this. Nobody should be, paying the rent for me. I don't have to pay rent. So it's like, my sister's like, I'm okay though. Like everything's fine. Like do what you need to do and you're fine. But that energy and the people that you surround yourself with also kind of dictate that, I guess, your health as well. So that's, yeah, it took me a minute. So trying to stick to that, I failed today. I got up and I ate some bread this morning instead of eating fruit. But I know what I should be doing. So it's just trying to like keep myself motivated and doing those things. And like how Katie was saying about putting yourself first, it's really hard for me to do that because I think I just grew up that way too. Like all the women, they take care of their children first, they're last. They take care of other people and they pretty much put themselves last. So learning how to put myself first has helped with the health thing. But I mean, I only started this week with doing that, but it has been helpful this week to do that and not feel bad about it and not feel like I'm weird and things of that nature. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You all are very much complimenting each other in everything you've mentioned. Yeah. Agreed. So this is what one would see if one were to see Oshosi in Oshosi Shrine or the Orisha Oshosi. This is a symbol that you saw it in the previous iconography for Oshosi in the, let me move this out the way, in the three fish hook right here. And so this is, and actually, another thing you'll find with Inle worship is doctor's implements that live with the Orisha when it's made and when it's consecrated. So literally doctors' instruments live with Inle. So, and if you notice, this symbol looks very much like the symbol for medicine, right? The symbol with the swirling snake that goes up is very closely related to that. Makes me wonder sometimes where that came from. But I only have a couple of pataki today. And they both relate to Inle and Yemanja. So the pataki with Inle, Yemaya, and Ejabo or Eyabo, depending on how you say it, has to do with the love affair between Inle and Yemaya. So Yemaya came upon Inle, and she was smitten, completely smitten by his elegance and his beauty and his viral nature and all that fun stuff. And she brought him to live with her in the ocean. So she brought him to live with her. She was so enamored with him that she was the mother of the world was getting her roof back, basically, and was having such a good time that she did not take care of the affairs of the world. She was only her only concern was to stay in love and to be in love and to have a passionate love affair with Inle. And so while this was going on, Olodumare, the supreme god, noticed that the affairs of the world were very off kilter. They were very, like, he noticed that people were going hungry and without shelter, and all of the children, she's a mother of fishes. The fish were suffering terribly because the mother of fishes wasn't mothering. So one of the fish that lives with Yemanja Ejabo, which is the red snapper, was snapping. Red snapper was having a lot of problems with his family, with his affairs. He was fed up, and he was so upset with what was going on with Yemanja. And the problem is, because of the pact that Olokun made with Olodumare at the creation of the world, Olodumare really, or Olo could not send, or Olokun could not really send, could not really appear within the waters, because they made a pact that that domain was Olokun's domain, and the earth was Olofin's and Obatala's domain. So if he were a Olofin, she, because it's not just a she, because it's creative energy, so we don't consider it a he. If Olofin were to enter into the ocean where Yemanja was living with Inle, that would have meant a lot of imbalance, or something would have been, that would have made a lot of problems for both parties, because they have a pact that they had to acknowledge, and they have messengers that they use. So Olofin was not sure which messenger to use, because he saw what was happening with the world, but he did not know what was going on with Yemaya, because Olokun was protecting Yemaya. So he was like, how am I going to figure this out? And so while he was wondering how he was going to respectfully figure out what was going on with Yemaya, Ejabo, which is the red snapper, who was mad and mug, decided to visit Olodumare and to say, this is what's going on, it's not right. And he did. He went to Olodumare, saluted, and said, I have a problem. Yemaya is not taking care of the affairs of the world. My family is in shambles. My neighbors, the world as we see it is in shambles, because she is so enamored with Erinle that no one can talk to her, no one can appease her, and she won't answer. So because Olofin had this evidence from the red snapper Ejabo, Olodumare, which is also known as Olofin, which is the owner of and ruler of law and creator of rules and law, was able to approach Yemanja and Inle and let them know what was going on had to end. They could no longer be so enamored with each other that the affairs of the world go in shambles. So Yemaya said, "I'm so sorry, I will never ever do that again." And so from that point on, she made sure that she never abandoned the world again. And she made sure that whenever anyone went to her, that she would do her best to answer them, that she would always be the mother that we always relied on her to be, of all of the children of all of the world. And Inlay left, was in the process of leaving to go to a part of the water where he can live and handle his affairs. She can live and handle her affairs. And so he went back to live in the river, and they meet but don't mix where the river meets the sea. And for his diligence and hard work, the red snapper was rewarded with being a chief advisor to Olodumare and a chief witness for Olodumare in the ocean. And whenever an Orisha is appeased, the snapper is the primary fish that's served to the Orishas as a matter of appeasement, and whenever that is asked for. So that's why if you go to an Orisha's home, or if there's something special that has to be done, and a special request needs to be made of an Orisha, one will go because of his reliability and special favor with Olofin. The snapper is the fish that we oftentimes use to appease the Orisha in many ceremonies. So that's one pataki. So another I have was, what was the other one? Oh, how Eli came to speak through Yemaya. So this one isn't through my lineage. The one I just spoke to you about is through my lineage. The one I'm gonna share with you now is not through my lineage, but this is, I think, a fairly popular one. And this goes to what I spoke about initially about the way an Ile is initiated. So, or what way Ile's children are initiated in our tradition. So, as I mentioned before, Ile and Yemaya were great lovers. And while they were together, Yemaya at some point felt like, oh, this is great, but now I need to also take care of the affairs of the world, the whole thing that happened before. So this is another version of the tale, the pataki that I just told. So Yemaya was like, okay, this is great. I'm getting my groove back, and it's wonderful. But I need to take care of the affairs of the world, and I can't be all consumed by Enlil. And so Enlil was constantly asking her, let's run away together. Let's continue to be this couple together. Let's continue to be in love and continue to make love all day, all night together. And so she, with her power that she had invested with her, took the power of Enlil to speak, because Enlil kept insisting that she do more for him than what she needed to do for the world. And so she took Enlil's power to speak while he was living with her. And that is why, in part, according to this pataki, why when children of Enlil are initiated, they are initiated through Yemaya in Lukomi tradition, because Yemaya took Enlil's capacity to speak away in order for her to be the mother to the world she's meant to be. And so initiates of Enlil are initiated through Yemaya, and her shells, her Dilogun shells, are the cowrie shells are used to speak on Enlil's behalf. And so those are the two pataki I had for you guys today. Do you have any questions or insights or thoughts about those? They're pretty straightforward. Everybody's good. All righty. Well, we are almost to 6:30. I do have, there are a couple of songs for Elay I can share with you that are singing Bembe. We can close out with some songs to Elay. They're pretty, I think the ones that are sing for Elay are generally not too tongue twisty. And so of course, like I mentioned before, whenever I've done songs on this, yes, Antonika. As I mentioned before, whenever we do songs, I can, let's see, is she still here? No. This the time to leave? Oh, she did leave. I didn't know she was leaving. Okay. So whenever we sing songs, it'll be easier if I sing them and you guys remain muted, because otherwise it will be a lot of echoing of the same song. So, and these are the songs that are generally sung whenever you go into a bembe or a drum for in a relay songs are sung. And so I'll just start and I'll repeat each one like 3 times. So give you guys a chance to catch the rhythm and timbre and the enunciation of each one. Hey, oh, ele, oh, ele, oh, ele, ay, 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 oh, ele. And this is the response. Eh, oh, ele, oh, ele, oh, ele, ay, 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 oh, ele. That's the first one. Eh, oh, ele, oh, ele, oh, ele, ay, 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 oh, ele. Or it's oh, ele or erile. Erile, 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 ay, 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 erile. Erile, 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 ay, 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 erile. One more time. And you can say oh, ele or erile. Either way is fine. And you'll hear people say it either way. Oh, ele, oh, ele, oh, ele, ay, 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 oh, ele. Oh, ele, oh, ele, oh, ele, ay, 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 oh, ele. So if you notice, ay, ay, ay. So this is ay, 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 which I mentioned in the first slide, is one of a praise name for or ele. So you're saying Erile, ferocious one, Erile. So you know. Erile kere, Erile kere, Erile kere adomio alado kere, Orile kere, Orile kele, Orile kele adomio alado kere. Orile kere, orile kere, orile kere adomio alado kere. So that song speaks of the connection Orile has to the river as the owner and the seer within the river, kind of like a play on Koriolodo, as the owner of the river. And okay, so and then we normally end unless we need to sing more songs. Orile kere alado kere orile ayaya orile kele, which is another orientation to the same song. Orile kere, alaosha kere, orile kere, ayaya, orile kere. Sorry, my voice is a little hoarse today. Hopefully you guys hear me okay. And the third, like the song that normally closes songs to Ile are, oh Ile, 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 oh Ile, oh Ile, oh, oh Ile, 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 oh Ile. And then the call, oh Ile, oh Ile, 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 oh Ile, oh Ile, oh Ile, 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 oh Ile. Karaya, kayaya, karaya, koto, karaya, koro kataya, karaya, koto, karaya. O ileo, o ile, olo ile kataya, o ile kata taraya, o ile kata taraya, karaya, o ile. Now I'm getting tongue tied. But you guys get the idea, right? Pretty straightforward songs. I'm gonna stop the share. All right, y'all hung with me to the end. So I'm thinking about doing Osine next. I think I should be able to do Osine next week. Yeah. So I'll do the Orisha of herbs next week to complement, speaking of Ile. So hopefully you guys tune in next week. And we'll talk about Osine. I'm gonna try to keep that to an hour and a half. It's gonna be really difficult to talk about Osine in an hour and a half, but I'm gonna try with discussion. Very important, Orisha. All right. Well, thank you for coming. Yeah, thank you for coming. And we'll see you all next Friday, if not before.
All right, thanks, Deidre. That was excellent. I'm actually mad that I've been missing them, and hopefully I can catch next Friday. But
hopefully you can. I think you'd like the class. The way I'm thinking about working the science class, I really hope you can make it. I think you'll like it.
My schedule is just a mug. So
Yeah.
I'm giving thanks, and I want to try to move heavens and earth to at least get a portion of it if I can't get the whole thing.
All right. Hopefully we'll see you then.
All right. Thanks, sis.
You're welcome. Good to see y'all.
Have a good night, everyone.
All righty. Have a good evening.
All right. Have a great weekend, everybody.
And great weekend. Thank you. You too. And then there were two.
Yep. So
I was like, normally it's like a fade out, and they both went.
no. Well, everybody tends to leave slower. So
Yeah.
well, today they did. It was like lingering, wanting to stay.
Right.
I felt that the last couple, because we haven't been doing it every week, so I think
more of a vibe.
It's just like that community feel.
Yeah, we're getting back to it. Hopefully we'll get back to it. This is August may be a little less busy. I may have more opportunities this month. I may actually be able to do a class every Friday this month. Yeah. So what's on your mind, my goddaughter?
You gotta be good. You were just taking a break, but you needed a break.